The sky over Veltrian 9 was always bright. Giant towers touched the clouds, and flying cars passed through clear air lanes like silent birds. This planet was known for its wealth, fashion, and technology. Rich aliens from across the galaxy came, here to buy rare things, especially luxury vehicles. In the middle of the busy city stood Zarnak's Elite Motors, a dealership famous for selling the most expensive anti-gravity cruisers. Their showroom was filled with gleaming machines, hover cars, star racers, and sleek transporters that could fly from one planet to another. On this bright morning, a woman stepped out of a transport pod near the entrance of the dealership. Her name was Nara. She looked simple. She wore flat shoes, an earth-made cotton shirt, and brown pants with no brand marks. Her hair was tied back. She had no jewelry, no glowing wrist device, and no visible credit badge. She didn't carry any bags or tech. Just a small paper note in her hand with the model number of a cruiser she liked. As she walked in, the smooth glass doors opened with a gentle hiss. The floor sparkled, and a soft scent filled the air, rich and artificial. Holoscreens floated all around, showing car models and happy alien customers. Behind a shining white counter stood Varnox, the head sales officer. He was tall and purple-skinned, with long silver horns and a proud voice. Around him stood his sales team, 3 well-dressed aliens with sharp eyes and forced smiles. As Nara stepped inside, all eyes turned to her. "Excuse me," she said kindly, walking to the counter. "I'd like to see the Xeron 12 Sky Cruiser. Is there a model available for test drive?" There was silence for a moment. Then Varnox blinked slowly. "The Xeron 12? He asked, raising one long eyebrow. "Do you know how much that costs?" "Yes," Nara replied. 78 million credits. The 3 assistants exchanged glances. One whispered, "Maybe she's confused or lost." Varnox leaned forward, fake smile on his face. "Ma'am," he said slowly, as if speaking to a child, "this dealership only serves premium clients. We accept only high-level buyers, those with proof of credit and social ranking." "I understand," Nara said, "but I don't need to buy today. I only want to test drive the cruiser. I'll buy later." One assistant laughed softly. Another one shook his head. Varnox's voice became firm. "Without ID, credit seal, or appointment, we don't allow test drives. It's the rule. Also, we don't let random citizens walk in and touch our high-tech products." Nara's smile faded slightly. She looked at the floating screens, then back at Varnox. "Do you always treat your guests like this?" Varnox's tone sharpened. "We treat customers well, not people pretending to be something they're not. You're clearly not a buyer." One of the assistants stepped forward. "Ma'am, we'll have to ask you to leave. This is a private showroom. There's nothing here for simple travelers." For a few seconds, Nara said nothing. Her hands remained calm at her sides. She looked around the room once more. Then she gave a small nod. "All right," she said softly. "I'll leave." She turned and walked toward the door. "Wait," Varnox called mockingly. "Before you go, here, take our brochure." He tossed a small holocard toward her, which landed near her feet. "So you can dream about these cars from wherever you live." The assistants chuckled. Nara bent down, picked up the card, and placed it gently on the counter. Her eyes met Varnox's one last time. "I don't need to dream," she said. "But thank you." And with that, she stepped out of the dealership and into the busy city street. Outside, people passed by, unaware of what had just happened. Nara stood there for a moment, watching the sky. A small smile returned to her face, but this time, it was different. She opened her pocket, took out a simple communicator, and spoke into it. "Mark this location," she said. Zarnak's Elite Motors. Were adding it to the list. Then she walked away, slowly, calmly, as if nothing had happened. But inside the dealership, Varnox and his team were still laughing, completely unaware of who they had just insulted. The next morning on Veltria 9, everything seemed normal until the sky changed. High above the glowing city, traffic lanes split apart. Security drones beeped and flew away, clearing the airspace. A strange silence fell across the sky. Everyone stopped and looked up. A massive black and silver ship floated down from the clouds. It wasn't a warship. It wasn't a cargo hauler. It was a Rolls-Royce Star Phantom, one of the rarest and most expensive vehicles in the galaxy. Built with quantum drive, gold-plated wings, and gravity silk interiors, it was known as a ship for kings. But this one was special. Its body was smooth and flawless. Its lights were soft and warm. The logo on the front was different. It had a glowing symbol of Earth. The ship descended slowly, not making any sound. People on the streets recorded videos. Aliens whispered in shock. A few even knelt, thinking a royal from the Galactic Core had arrived. The Rolls-Royce Star Phantom gently landed right in front of Zarnuk's Elite Motors. Inside the dealership, Varnox and his team were drinking glow coffee and checking morning sales. Stats. Then they heard the alarms. What is this? One assistant said, looking outside. Varnox walked to the window. When he saw the Star Phantom, his hands began to shake. No, that can't be real, he whispered. That's a human-made Rolls-Royce, but custom model. There's only one like it. The doors of the ship slowly opened. Everyone leaned closer. First, a tall man stepped out. He was wearing a dark suit made of energy cloth, the kind only elite commanders wear. A metal band wrapped around his wrist, glowing with real-time power levels. His boots didn't even touch the ground fully. They hovered slightly. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. Behind him, stepping out slowly, was Nara. She wore the same simple clothes as yesterday. But now the street was silent. Varnox gasped. That woman! That's the one we kicked out yesterday. One assistant whispered, why is she in that ship? Varnox's heart began to beat fast. Who is she really? The tall man, now standing beside Nara, looked directly at the dealership. Then he walked forward. The doors of Zarnuk's Elite Motors slid open for him, not by censor, but by fear. Varnox stepped forward, trying to act polite. Welcome, sir. Welcome to our fine showroom. What brings you here today? The man didn't smile. You kicked my wife out yesterday, he said. You mocked her, disrespected her, treated her like she was nothing. Varnox's smile dropped. Sir, I didn't know she didn't. Say, Varnox stuttered. You didn't ask, the man replied. You judged her by her clothes, not her mind, not her words. Just her look. The assistant stood frozen. I am Commander Idris of the Terran Space Union, he continued. Billionaire, explorer, builder of 12 starports, defender of the Jaren sector during the Yulan Wars. But none of that matters. He turned slightly toward Nara. She is my wife. That's all that should have mattered. Nara stood quietly watching everything. Her face was calm. Her hands folded in front. Commander Idris looked around the showroom. You see this dealership? He said. It's nice, beautiful, but it doesn't belong to you anymore. Varnox blinked. What? Behind Idris, a small drone floated into the room. It carried a hologram pad. It displayed a glowing legal contract, signed with seals from the Galactic Trade Office and Earth Supreme Credit Bank. I've bought your dealership, Idris said. As of now, this building, this land, this business all belong to Nara Corp. Holdings. Varnox dropped his coffee cup. The assistants gasped. But this is a registered alien business. Your license expired yesterday, Idris replied calmly. Your renewal papers weren't submitted. That gave me a legal opening. You see, my wife has been watching businesses like yours. She studies how humans are treated. And she's very, very patient. Nara stepped forward for the first time. Her voice was soft. "I didn't come here to take anything from you," she said. "I came to buy one cruiser. But you showed me something more valuable, your true face." One of the assistants tried to speak. "Please, ma'am, we didn't mean." Nara raised her hand gently. "I don't need apologies," she said. "I need better behavior for future customers. For future humans." Commander Idris looked at Varnox one last time. "You're no longer in charge here. Your team has two options: retrain under NaraCorp values or resign. Your actions will decide your future." The room stayed silent. Outside, a crowd had gathered. Cameras hovered. People were recording history. For the first time, a human couple had taken control of one of the richest alien dealerships in the galaxy, not through war, not with weapons, but through wisdom, wealth, and quiet strength. As Idris and Nara turned to walk through the showroom, the doors of the Star Phantom closed behind them. Nara stopped for a moment, looking at the same desk where she was mocked. She smiled, not in anger, but in calm victory. "This place," she said softly, "will change." Inside the large glass building of Zarnex Elite Motors, the lights were bright, but the mood had changed. The staff who were proud and loud yesterday now stood quiet and still. Nara, the woman they had once called simple, now sat at the main customer desk. Her hands rested calmly on the shiny table. The same table where Varnox, the head sales officer, had mocked her the day before. Now, he stood in front of her with his hands behind his back. He didn't speak. His assistant stood beside him, eyes down, afraid to make a sound. Beside Nara stood Commander Idris, her husband. His presence alone was enough to make the entire staff nervous, but he didn't speak either. He let Nara handle everything. A new team of legal bots hovered near the desk. They were shaped like silver orbs with glowing blue lenses and soft voices. One of them spoke clearly. "Ownership has been legally transferred to NaraCorp Holdings. All staff contracts are now under review. Old permissions have been erased. All systems will update within the hour." Varnox opened his mouth to speak, but stopped when Nara raised her hand. "There's no need for excuses," she said in a calm voice. "What happened yesterday already showed me everything." Varnox nodded slowly. "I understand, ma'am. I didn't recognize you." "You didn't need to recognize me," Nara replied. "You only needed to show respect. I was a customer, not a criminal." Varnox looked down. Nara stood up and looked around the room. She walked slowly toward the wall of holoscreens, her steps light and silent. She pointed at the camera feed playing on one of the screens. "I reviewed your security footage from yesterday," she said. "I saw everything, the words, the laughter, the way I was treated just because I wore plain clothes." She turned to look at the team, but I also saw something else. She pressed a button on the console. A new video began to play. It showed a short clip of a young alien worker, small, green-skinned, with 3 eyes, opening the door for Nara. When she was leaving, he had offered her a glass of water and said, "Sorry for how they treated you." The clip ended. Nara smiled gently. "Where is this boy?" she asked. A soft voice came from behind the group. "I'm here, ma'am." He stepped forward, nervous, holding his cap in his hands. "My name is Ricky. I'm just a junior cleaner," Nara nodded. "You're more than that now." She walked over and placed her hand on his shoulder. "As of today, you are promoted to Assistant Manager of Guest Relations," she said. "Your kindness shows what this place should stand for." Ricky's eyes widened. He looked at Idris, who gave him a proud nod. "Thank you, ma'am," Ricky said, holding back tears. The other staff looked at each other in silence. Some felt ashamed. Others were surprised. Nara turned to 2 other workers who had not laughed yesterday but had kept quiet. "You both will begin training in management," she said. "I believe people can grow if they choose to." Then she looked at Varnox. "But you," she said firmly, "are no longer welcome in this building." Varnox's face fell. Please, ma'am. I've worked here for 12 years. Nara didn't yell. She didn't insult him. She only said, then you should have known better. Commander Idris stepped forward, his voice calm but strong. You were trusted with leadership, he told Varnox. But you used it to judge others. That's not the kind of leadership we support. 2 security bots moved toward Varnox and stopped beside him. You will leave peacefully, one bot said. You are now off the access list. Varnox slowly walked out, head low. No one said goodbye. Nara looked around the room one more time. This place will not be about pride or power anymore, she said. It will be about service, fairness, and respect. Every species, every planet, every guest. The staff nodded, some of them with real respect now. Reki stepped forward. Ma'am, what about the dealership name? Nara looked at the glowing logo on the wall. Zarnik's Elite Motors. No need to erase history, she said. We'll keep the name for now, but we'll add something new. She walked to the logo panel and pressed her palm against it. A soft light scanned her hand, and a new line appeared under the logo, powered by NeraCorp values. The team clapped softly. Outside, more people were gathering. News drones hovered around the building. The story was spreading fast. A simple human woman had returned not with anger, but with wisdom, and now owned one of the most powerful dealerships in the system. Commander Idris spoke beside her quietly. You handled it well, he said. Better than I would have, Nara smiled. We don't change minds with force. We change them with action. She looked up at the sky through the glass ceiling. This is just one place, she said. But soon there will be many. As the staff returned to work under the new rules, Nara and Idris walked toward the exit. Before leaving, she turned around one last time. And then she said, let's begin again. The name Nara was now spreading across Veltrian 9 like soft wind through tall towers. News channels called her the Quiet Queen of Justice. Others named her the human who changed the rules, but no one knew who she really was. Not yet. 2. Most people, she looked like a calm, quiet woman who came from a faraway human colony. She spoke gently. She wore simple clothes. She never shouted. She never asked for attention. But behind her soft eyes lived a story that very few knew. A long time ago, before the riches, before the fame, before Commander Idris and his starships, Nara was just a scientist. She lived on a small research station, orbiting Earth's second moon, working day and night with machines and plants. She loved learning, testing, and building. She studied energy roots, small plants that grew in zero gravity and could power tiny machines. Her goal was to find natural energy for deep space travel. Many said her ideas were strange. Some even laughed, but Nara never stopped. One day, a human-led expedition invited her to join a project, the first Earth diplomatic mission to the outer worlds. The mission was simple: bring peace, share Earth's inventions, and build friendships with alien races. Nara felt honored. She packed her tools and her dreams and joined the mission with joy in her heart. But peace is never easy. At the diplomatic summit on the planet Carvex, humans were not welcomed kindly. Some alien leaders still believed humans were weak. Others saw them as poor or slow. Nara noticed how often her voice was ignored in meetings, how her ideas were skipped over, how some even called her just a plant girl. Still, she stayed polite. She kept working, but the betrayal came suddenly. One of the mission leaders, a human politician named Drayan, sold information about Earth's energy routes to a powerful alien trade lord in exchange for money and protection. When the trade deal failed, Drayan blamed Nara. He said she had given wrong data. He said she embarrassed Earth. Nara was removed from the mission and left alone on a neutral spaceport with only a small bag of tools and no ship. That day, she sat on a bench, looking at the stars, with tears in her eyes. All she had given, all Her work meant nothing until he came. A star cruiser landed nearby, and out stepped a tall man in black. He had clear eyes, a steady walk, and a kind voice. His name was Commander Idris. He had heard of her from Earth Science Council. He had read her research. He had followed her case. And he believed in her. "People may not understand you now," he said. "But they will. Come with me. Let's build something greater." Nara didn't know if she should trust again. But when she looked into his eyes, she saw no lies. Only respect. That day, Nara left behind the pain. She joined Idris and began a new life, not as a public figure, but as the secret heart of something powerful. Together, they built Nara Corp Holdings, a company that started with fair trade and science tools. Nara used her knowledge of plants, tech, and energy to create new systems. Idris handled the politics and deals. She stayed behind the scenes by choice. Over time, they opened space farms, clean energy labs, and even education pods on small moons. Quietly, Nara became the mind behind many of Earth's peaceful advances. Still, most people didn't know her name. That was how she liked it. But Nara had a mission of her own. She had never forgotten the way she was treated on Karvix. Not with anger, but with purpose. She wanted to understand how people treated those who looked poor or weak. She wanted to know how many businesses still judged others by looks, race, or voice. So, once every cycle, she would visit a new place dressed simply, without identity tags, without protection. Just herself. She would walk in as a customer, a guest, or a learner. She watched, she listened, and she remembered. The dealership on Veltrian 9 was just one of those places. She had chosen it carefully. She had read stories of disrespect there. She wanted to see it with her own eyes, but she had not expected it to be so direct, so cold. Now, sitting inside the same place that had once thrown her out, she was not thinking about revenge. She was thinking about change. In the evening, after the new team had started working under new rules, Nara stood in her quiet office above the showroom. The window showed the full city below, glowing with lights. Commander Idris entered with 2 cups of Earth-style tea. "I spoke with the Galactic Trade Office," he said. "They want to give you an award." Nara shook her head with a soft smile. "I don't need a medal. I just want them to remember how we treated them." He placed the tea beside her and sat on the soft chair. "You could take more credit," he said. "Let the world know what you've built." "I will in time," she replied, "but not with noise. Let our work speak." Idris nodded. He knew her well. She had always believed that the strongest people are not the loudest, but the ones who act with purpose. Nara looked up at the stars. "One day," she said, "people will stop judging by clothes or names or background. They will listen. They will learn. We just have to keep showing them how." And in the quiet of the night, while the city buzzed far below, Nara sat calmly, just like always, a simple woman with an extraordinary mission. Far above Veltrian 9, on a golden space station that floated near a blue gas giant, the Galactic Trade Council held its monthly meeting. The council was made up of 27 members. Each one came from a different species, planet, or trade system. They wore robes, armor, or suits depending on their customs. Some had fur, some had scales, and others had glowing eyes or metal limbs, but all had the power to decide trade laws, approve licenses, and support or block businesses. Across the galaxy. This time, however, the meeting was different. A video had reached the council chambers just hours ago. It showed a simple human woman walking into a luxury dealership, being insulted and returning the next day with her billionaire husband in a Rolls-Royce Star Phantom. Then, with calm words and legal steps, she took over the entire business. Her name was Nara. The council had watched the video in silence. Now a tall counselor with dark red skin, Charon of Threk, spoke first. "She did not use weapons," Charon said. "She did not threaten. She simply bought the business. And changed the rules. A round floating member named Zooli of Mistcloud spoke next. Humans are growing smarter, more careful. This one was different. Another member, a metal-plated creature named Talvox of Sector 9, clicked his fingers. She reminds me of the early Earth leaders, quiet but strong. We should invite her. There were some grumbles. A bluefin trader from Zintra said, but she is not a council-level figure. She owns one dealership. But Charon shook his head. She owns more than that. Check the records. Her company, NaraCorp, has small roots in 12 sectors. She's been working silently, planting ideas, changing how people treat each other. Zooli added, and she didn't ask for attention. That makes her even more powerful. The vote was taken quickly. Result: invite Nara to the Galactic Trade Council as a guest speaker. Back on Veltrian 9, Nara sat in her new office, studying reports. Her staff was adjusting well. The 2 assistants she had promoted were helping Reki with new guest rules. Customers of all species were being treated with kindness now. The sales had not dropped, in fact. They had increased. People respected fairness. Commander Idris walked in with a message drone. "You have a message from the council," he said, handing her the data chip. Nara placed it into her console. Holo message appeared. It was official, with golden borders. "Dear Nara of Earth, the Galactic Trade Council has seen your actions. We invite you to speak at our next summit. Topic: equal trade rights for all races. Your words may guide our next policy steps. Sincerely, Councillor Charon of Threx." Nara stared at the message for a few moments. Then she looked at Idris. "They noticed," she said softly. He smiled. "They couldn't ignore you anymore." 1 week later, Nara stepped into the grand hall of the Galactic Council Station. She wore a light gray earth robe, clean and neat, with no gold or gems. She walked calmly, as always. The hall was full of glowing chairs, alien advisors, and floating translators. Cameras floated silently in corners. Hundreds of eyes turned to her. Nara stepped up to the center platform. She looked around and took a deep breath. Then she began to speak in simple, clear words. "I come from Earth," she said. "A planet that was once ignored in many galactic matters. But now we rise not by war, not by wealth, but by values." Some council members leaned forward. Others whispered to their assistants. Nara continued, "I do not ask for power. I ask for fairness. I ask for trade rules that protect all species, not just the wealthy or well-dressed. I ask that we stop judging customers by how they look or speak." She paused. "I was thrown out of a dealership for looking too simple. But when I returned with wealth, they welcomed me. Is that the kind of galaxy we want?" The room stayed silent. "Humans have much to offer," she said. "We are learning. We are peaceful. But we are also watching. We remember who treats us with respect. And who does not." Councillor Charon stood. "And what do you suggest, Nara of Earth?" She looked at him and replied, "A new law. One that gives equal treatment to all trade visitors. No species, race, or dress style should block someone from service. Every customer deserves a chance until they show disrespect themselves." There was a short silence. Then Talvox of Sector 9 stood. "I support it." Zooli of Miss Cloud floated higher. "I second." One by one, the members voted. Some were unsure. Some agreed fully. A few still held doubt. But when the vote was finished, the result was clear. New policy passed. Galactic guest equality. Nara had changed more than a dealership. She had changed the rules of trade across the galaxy. Later that evening, Nara and Idris stood on the balcony of the council station. The stars looked closer from this high. "You did it," Idris said. "We did it," she replied. He looked at her with pride. "You never shout. You never force, but still, you shake the stars." Nara smiled. Because strength doesn't need noise, it only needs purpose. Far away, on many planets, small business owners saw the new law on their screens. On dusty moons and rich cities, humans began to walk into shops where they once feared to enter. And, slowly, quietly, the galaxy began to change, all because of one simple woman who refused to stay silent. Nara's name was now known across many star systems. People from all kinds of worlds, rich or poor, alien or human, spoke of the woman who changed a planet with calm words and wise actions. Her success was not loud, but it was clear. Her new law, the Galactic Guest Equality Act, had started to bring change. Many shops and businesses began training their staff to treat all customers fairly. Humans, once treated as low, were now walking into places where they were once rejected. But not everyone was happy. In the dark shadows of Sector Craven, far from the light of fair trade, a group of old alien business lords gathered in a hidden room. They were known as the Orphan Circle, a secret group who believed only elite bloodlines should control wealth. Nara's actions had hurt their power. One of them, a spiked alien named Lurkish, slammed his sharp hand on the table. She destroyed our deals on Veltrian 9. She speaks of equality, but she's breaking our old ways. Another, with silver skin, spoke coldly. The people love her. We can't stop her with words. Lurkish grinned. Then let's stop her with actions. He opened a dark screen, showing the main NaraCorp dealership building. She's visiting the showroom again next cycle, he said. We plant a virus into her system. We cause failure, fear, blame. Her reputation will burn. The others nodded. Their plan had begun. Back on Veltrian 9, the dealership building was shining under the sun. A new sign hung above the entrance. Welcome all, every guest, every species, every time. Inside, workers smiled at customers. Even aliens who once looked down on humans were now speaking kindly. Business was strong. Nara stood in her office, preparing her notes for a small team meeting. She liked to walk the floor herself, talk to staff, and learn what needed fixing. She didn't see herself as a boss. She saw herself as a guide. Commander Idris entered with a report. Everything looks fine, he said. Sales up. Staff happy. But ... She looked up. But what? He handed her a device. One of our data scouts found strange code in the system. Nara scanned the data. It was small, quiet, but dangerous. It's a slow virus, she said. It spreads inside staff tools, changes orders, blocks cameras, and blames failures on human errors. Idris frowned. So it'll make it look like our workers are failing? Yes, Nara said. And soon the public will think we're not ready to run a business. Idris stepped forward. We can shut the system down. No, she replied. That will cause fear. Then what do we do? Nara walked to her desk and pressed a button. A small silver disc rose from the surface. It glowed gently and hummed. This is the neural link core, she said. I created it long ago. It connects to my thoughts and reacts in real time. Idris blinked. You connected your brain to the building? Only when needed, she said with a smile. Right now it's needed. She closed her eyes and placed her hand on the disc. At once, the dealership's control system linked with her mind. Her thoughts moved like light through wires. She saw the virus. She saw where it had spread, and she began to fight it. On the main floor, strange things began to happen. One screen flickered. Another made false sounds. A cleaning bot dropped its tools. Staff looked worried. Is something wrong? Reki asked, stepping beside Nara as she walked onto the floor. No, she said. Something is trying to go wrong. She moved to the central screen and touched the control panel. Activating mirror defense. She whispered. The virus, hidden inside the system, tried to spread, but now it found itself being trapped. Every time it moved, a mirror code blocked its path. Every lie it made was caught and marked. Within minutes, it was surrounded. Nara opened a private command box. Origin, Craven Sector. Sender, unknown. Method, silent sabotage. She looked at Idris. They wanted to break us, she said. But they forgot we don't give up. Then she pressed the final button. The virus collapsed. All screens returned to normal. The bots moved correctly again. Staff sighed with relief. Reki looked amazed. You did that ... with your mind? Nara smiled. Sometimes to protect your people, you have to do more than lead. You have to think ahead. Idris stepped beside her. We should report this to the council. I already did, she said. The virus path was traced. The council will know who sent it. Later that evening, in the Galactic Council chambers, Charon of Threk stood before the room. We have confirmed sabotage against Nara Corp, he said. It was sent by hidden networks connected to the Orthan Circle. Gasps spread through the room. These old powers fear change, Charon continued. But they are afraid. Because change is winning. The council voted to freeze the Orthan Circle's trade licenses. Back on Veltrion 9, the stars began to shine. Nara stood outside the dealership, watching the night sky. Idr. Ice brought her a cup of tea. They tried to break us, he said, and now, she replied, we are stronger. She looked at the quiet streets, where families walked safely and shops welcomed every being. They still think we're just simple humans, she said softly. But they don't understand what simple really means, Idris nodded. Simple is not weak. Simple is clear, honest, true, Nara smiled. And truth always survives. Above them, the first star glowed brighter. The storm had passed, but the mission was not over. The city of Veltrion 9 was alive with quiet energy as morning light bathed the tall buildings in gold. The streets buzzed gently with beings of all types, aliens and humans mingling freely, their voices calm but hopeful. In the heart of the city stood the now famous Zarnix Elite Motors dealership, its glass walls reflecting the changing world around it. Inside, Nara moved with the steady grace of someone who knew exactly where she belonged. The woman once called simple had grown into something greater, not because she sought power, but because she had earned respect through wisdom, patience, and kindness. Today was special. Today, the dealership was hosting its first Galactic Fair of Equality, an event meant to celebrate the new spirit of trade and friendship across all species. Vendors from distant planets had brought their goods. Children laughed and played near the hover fountains. Music from strange instruments filled the air. Nara stood near the entrance, watching the crowd. Her simple clothes were neat and clean, but she wore a small badge on her chest, a symbol of unity created for the fair. Her eyes shone with quiet pride. Beside her stood Commander Idris, her husband and partner in all things. He smiled warmly at the scene. It is hard to believe how far we've come, he said softly. Nara nodded. All because we never gave up. Suddenly, a young alien child ran up to Nara. He had 4 eyes and bright orange skin. He held a small handmade flower. For you, he said shyly, handing her the flower. Nara crouched down, accepting it with a gentle smile. Thank you, she said. You remind me why we do this. The child grinned and ran back to his family. Nearby, Reki, now a confident assistant manager, was helping a new customer. Nara watched him and felt a warm glow inside. This was the future she had hoped for. But not everyone celebrated quietly. Far away, in a dark starship orbiting the edge of the galaxy, a group of powerful beings watched the news feeds about the fair. The leaders of the old Orthan Circle sat with hard faces. One of them, Lurkish, slammed his fist. They think they have won, he growled. But this is only the beginning. We will find new ways. Another member whispered, the galaxy changes, but old power never dies easily. Back on Veltrion 9, Nara had no time to worry about enemies. She had more important work. A new message arrived from the Galactic Trade Council. It was an invitation, this time not as a guest, but as an official trade ambassador for Earth. Nara. Read the message aloud to Idris. They want me to represent Earth in all future galactic trade meetings. Idris's eyes sparkled. You deserve it. Nara smiled but stayed humble. It is not just for me, she said. It is for every simple person who ever was ignored. I will speak for them. That afternoon, Nara stepped onto the stage set in the middle of the fair. The crowd hushed as she began to speak. Friends of the galaxy, she said. Today we stand not as separate planets or species, but as one community, one family. Her voice was calm and clear. Every person, no matter where they come from, or how they look, deserves respect. We have learned that kindness is stronger than pride, and fairness is the true power. The crowd cheered softly. We began with a small step, a simple woman who was kicked out of a dealership, Nara said, smiling. But today, we take a giant step for all who dream of fairness. After the speech, Nara walked among the guests. Many came to shake her hand, to thank her, or to share their own stories of struggle and hope. One alien trader said, Your courage has changed how we do business. Thank you. A human mother whispered, My children will grow in a better world. Because of you. Nara's heart was full. As night fell, Nara and Idris stood together on the rooftop of the dealership. The city below twinkled with lights like stars fallen to the ground. Ice put his arm around her shoulders. Are you ready for what comes next? He asked. Nara looked up at the sky, thinking of all the planets still to visit, the people still to meet, and the walls still to break down. I am, she said. Because simple does not mean small. Simple means honest. It means strong inside. They stood quietly, watching as the first star of the evening burned bright. And in that moment, Nara was no longer just a simple woman. She was a leader, a symbol, a light for a galaxy learning to see beyond looks and titles. The journey was far from over, but the future was brighter than ever.